Приветствую всех на площадке Positive.
Hello, everybody. A pleasure to welcome you to Positive Hack Days. Name is Aydar Fatykhov.
Архитектуру, защиту, как эти термины связаны между
And I'm
собой.
going to tell you architecture and
Но вначале вкратце о себе.
cybersecurity and the correlation between the two. Now, me personally, I've been working in the IT industry for over 15 years. I started out as a systems integrator, and I specialized in areas such as virtualization of computing, virtualization of storage, virtualization of network solutions. Well, currently, I am more into product development. My company develops various products designed to help automate, well, various IT processes, to put it simply. Now, let's look at what we have at hand. Now, the first issue we have to deal with is that improper architectural solutions can easily expand the scope or the number of attack surfaces, and that significantly expands our threat model and balloons the number of security measures that we need to A, implement, and B, maintain. Now, the second problem that we have is that as we develop architecture, people often completely forget about cybersecurity, preferring to think about them sometime later, which may potentially result in us making pretty dumb architectural decisions, resulting in increased CapEx, increased OpEx, and lower ROI. At the same time, efficiency or ROI is a matter of concern for most companies. Shown here are 9 criteria of cyber resilience, and they were selected, or actually, they come from a study done by Senchi Institute and Cisco Secure. So in total, they polled over 4,700 information security experts from 26 countries. So you can see that ROI is there among top 9 factors at position 8. But if you care about what people in larger companies think, that is, companies with headcount between 250 and 10,000 employees, for them, ROI would rank number 2. And if you ask me, I believe this consideration will be increasingly more important as information security budgets mushroom. Now, I'm quoting here a study done by Yandex Cloud, which shows that in 2023, Russian corporations' information security budgets continued to grow. And, this is not really surprising. This is something we see around the world as well. According to Security Benchmark Report, 65% of companies in 2023 continued to increase their InfoSec budgets. Now, let's consider architecture. Of all the key factors that impact, cybersecurity, the most important ones include architecture, which is based on modern, updatable, integrated IT and InfoSec technologies. In other words, architecture is seen as, a starting point when it comes to ensuring cyber resilience. So indeed, I hope we're all agreed that we need to, build defenses from scratch, or, we've got to do secure by design, and it also needs to be relatively inexpensive, or at least provide good ROI. So when we need to develop the right architecture, we usually start by developing schemata and artifacts, and how to use such methodologies. Well, this will be covered by Alexey Skladchikov, my colleague, in one of the upcoming presentations. So these artifacts, they need to go through the prism of InfoSec requirements. And these requirements can be, the compliance centers established usually by the state. And this is the usual kind of go-to way. Now, the alternative solution is to consider it all through the prism or through the lens of various frameworks and methodologies. For example, we can use the methodology provided by Positive Technologies, results-driven cybersecurity, I think, or the Innostage methodology, which will be covered later on by a colleague of mine. So, having considered the best practices and the requirements this way, we should be able to see the overall number of security measures that we need to implement. Also, we should be able to identify the architectural solutions that were improper or incorrect, resulting in increased scope. This way, we should be able to introduce the necessary corrections. And indeed, it is much easier to do it at the beginning rather than later. The next recommendation deals with regarding the architecture of your information system through the lens of which architectural strategy underlies it all. Now, shown here is a brief excerpt of a study done by Aydar Fatykhov, who is the chief solution architect at Intel. There are even more specific things such as data-centric architecture, but Maria and Vyacheslav are going to dwell on this subject in particular a bit later. So as you can see, each of these approaches has got its strengths and its weaknesses. Now, these weaknesses are related to issues of information security. Now, the recommendation here is that, we gotta consider the architecture proposed for a particular information system, check which framework it is based on, identify the drawbacks or weaknesses of such a strategy, and your information security team will then be able to propose the right set of security measures. This way, you will have a kind of a win-win situation, where your business objectives are furthered, so to speak, with the right kind of architecture, while the InfoSec team makes sure that all InfoSec risks embedded, so to speak, in such an architectural strategy are properly managed. Now, this has been a kind of a philosophical or methodological overview. Now, let's get our hands dirty. Let's talk about more pragmatic recommendations and ideas. Now, first, we need to develop our architecture in a way that encompasses proper segmentation. Now, segmentation is effectively the best tool for minimizing the scope of your defenses. The more optimal the surface of defense is, the less or the fewer you will need to implement various security measures, and the more effective our side of defenses is going to be. Now, at the network level, we can use such technologies as overlaying networks, as well as network function virtualization, which significantly expands our capabilities when it comes to, say, establishing new entities in the network. And when it comes to segmentation of computing power, virtualization obviously comes in very handy, because for every particular function we can develop our own computing nodes and then develop an information system which is granular and manageable. Now, the next one is the next recommendation is effectively Occam's razor recommendation. So the idea here is that we should preferably reuse whatever the organization already has, the organization is already securing, something that is rather seen as an internal service which has its own team to maintain it, a team that can ensure that, this service is run in a fault-tolerant mode, or in a highly redundant or reliable, mode. So we need to build it on a technology of multi-factor MFA, multi-factor authentication, as well as continuous authentication. So once your user has already authenticated on the system, we gotta check the creds on a regular basis. Also, we gotta use zero trust networks, and we gotta use micro-segmentation for the network segments where it can be done and where it makes sense. Also, it's a good idea to remove the unnecessary dependency, so to speak, on the human factor. That is, implement tools that support orchestration of the user's scenarios in order to effectively minimize the potential fallout of human factor. So, implementation of zero trust technologies at such an advanced level enable us to increase cyber resilience of a particular information system, if this is what we're looking at, or the whole company, if that's your scope at the moment. Now, the next recommendation is related to templates and patterns for deploying your information systems. Now, you may have noticed that my two previous slides, they are in a kind of a logical conflict with each other, because I've just been talking about segmentation, and I suggested that we create additionally new objects. But then I say, no, we gotta be lean, we gotta be in line with Occam's razor, so we should be reusing whatever we have. Now, this recommendation is designed to sort of balance the two previous recommendations. We should not be creating new types of objects. So, for example, we have, say, standardized, well-described entities or phenomena, such as, say, DMZs or what have you. So, we should be using standardized templates of VMs, something that we can properly administer and manage. And we should also make sure that, we are mostly managing, mostly using the existing types. So we shouldn't really create, say, new sets of rules and access rights for the admins. At the same time, creation of, say, VMs or network assets should not be constrained, but it should be led by the rules that we have established. All this is designed to make sure that we can develop the right kind of segmentation at the level of, a particular system, let alone the whole organization.
Описаний стандартов, будь то для сетевых объектов, для сетевых правил, для виртуальных машин, это все.
So, for, say, VMs or network assets, this is an important step towards the right automation. Now, the next recommendation is like this. As you develop a particular system, make sure that you consider the right path to automation, so to speak. And as you apply automation, you should be able to at least double the performance of the less experienced employees, and the more experienced employees will be able to focus on, the brainier tasks rather than be distracted by the routines, by the routine work that is currently taken over by automation. Now, when we are talking about automation, we should also be mindful that InfoSec processes, just like IT processes, they also need to be automated. So they should help us improve our business metric, which is TTM, time to market. So only once we have automated IT and InfoSec, we should be able to launch new information systems very fast. And my last recommendation today is about cloud technologies.
First, one of the key factors in building a cyber-resilient infrastructure or information system is your capability to update it as fast as possible, to eliminate any vulnerabilities as identified. Global experience tells us that cloud solutions expand our capabilities in this regard greatly, so that we can deploy updates much faster. If your corporate policy bans public cloud, you can look at private cloud. Research by Cloud.ru and Technologies of Trust has shown that 59% of cases in Russia are private clouds. In closing, I call upon you to provide for security automation from day one, from the very beginning. That is where you are just starting to design the architecture. That's it from me. Thank you.